that a little bit more as we get into the vlog. I want to try to make this about 30 minutes because this is a really dumb reason, but my favorite sushi Thai place is open at 11:30, and I want to order some pad Thai because I'm craving it. So I'll try to keep it a little bit short because also, speaking of E3, at 12 o'clock today, we will have, not we specifically, but the Nintendo Direct will be happening, and that, of course, is, and if you've seen my Twitter, you know that that's probably the only real conference that I actually care about, because there's always the chance, and I'll talk about this a bit more later, of a new Metroid, which I'm very excited for. So that's something to keep in mind. So that'll be at noon Eastern time, I believe. But let's start with a couple other things first. Of course, this has been a very interesting week for Dota. We've had DreamLeague. ESL starts in a couple of days, or tomorrow, I don't really know when. And then DotaPit, which we had two series, Mouse Sports versus Cloud9, and then, of course, the big one, EG versus Secret, which a lot of people are talking about. So we'll discuss that. Game of Thrones happened yesterday. I believe it was 2 days ago, actually. And I will warn you when I'm going to be talking about that. If you've not seen the new episode, I'll make sure that I will tell you that I'm going to be spoiling some things. So at that point in the video, I'll switch to a spoiler tag, and you guys can head out and make sure that you don't listen to any of that unfortunateness. I'm sure you might have already gotten spoiled already if you've read Twitch chat or just by being somewhere near a computer in general or talking with friends. So keep that in mind as I have this freaking hair in my eye or something. All right. Let's get started. Let's talk about E3 specifically because I think that's the biggest thing. I want to try to go away from... I mean, I'm not going away from Dota. I'm going to continue to do Dota, and I love Dota. But I want to try to talk about at least a little bit more general video gaming because I love video games, and I love Dota a lot. I do. But I want to get more into other video games as well. Not like, I don't want to go to like, League or whatever bullshit. I just want to talk about other video games because that's a big part of my life. I'm not saying like I'm leaving Dota or anything, so don't even worry about it. But so for me, video games are very important. They always have been. Dota was not the first video game I ever played, and it's not the biggest video game that I had. It's not the video game that I invested a lot of my time into even. That used to be World of Warcraft, so Dota was not my first love. Video games in general were. And recently, if you know anything about me, you'll know that Metroid, Super Metroid in specific, has been the game that I have coveted and played very often. I speedrun it, and I'm a big fan of the Metroid series as a whole, so... that game, and that's why I'm interested in the Nintendo Direct. But let's start with something else. Let's start with, of course, E3 in terms of Bethesda, Microsoft, and Sony. And a little bit of Nintendo here and there as well. So Bethesda, their first day, and this has really been frustrating, is that like the mobile games and like the new Hearthstone killers are coming, and that's been like a big part of, I think, a lot of companies' E3 conferences. I think another organization did that. I think it was at the Sony conference. I might be wrong. And that's really annoying. Like, we don't care about mobile games. We don't give a shit. And we don't give a shit about Hearthstone killers because Hearthstone is already good enough as it is. So I think a lot of people realize that E3 is becoming more and more about like the public and less about like hardcore video game fans like it used to be. So it's unfortunate that we're heading down that road, but there are always still going to be hopefully one or two big games at the end of these conferences. For Bethesda, really the only good thing was Fallout. Even Doom didn't look particularly good. It didn't look fast-paced, which I thought was really upsetting, because if you look at the old Doom, the entirety of that game is based around fast-paced action, dodging projectiles, being aggressive. The fact that, and I know a lot of people have said this, but the fact that chainsaw kills have taken, 5 to 6 seconds of animation wind-up to kill people has been really frustrating. So that's something that's really annoying. So Fallout 4 looked good, didn't look particularly, stellar or flooring. It looked pretty good. That's all I'll say about it. Creativity and building your own stuff has been a big part of games, and we'll continue to see that as we go through this next year. So that was interesting. But let's head over to the Microsoft conference and talk about that. And that was just a goddamn train wreck. It wasn't particularly good. Microsoft and Ubisoft, in fact, actually, were horrible. They were god-awful. Microsoft showed off the HoloLens, and that was okay. That was, I mean, it wasn't particularly great, but it was something at least at the end of a just boring conference and awful and just everything is. I hate using the term cringeworthy because I think it's associated with a lot of negative things. But that shit actually is awful and it is cringeworthy. Like the shit that Microsoft and Ubisoft did, not great. Like yeah, the whole Pele thing with I guess was it Microsoft that did that? No, it was EA. That's right. Microsoft, Ubisoft, and EA were all awful. Ubisoft was not as bad. EA was just shit. Oh, they did like the NHL trailer, and I'm just like, it looks like NHL 11. That's like 4 years ago, and we're still like, they have the same fucking animations, dude. Because they can't be arsed to fucking use a new goddamn engine or to make a new goddamn engine. Everything about those three conferences were just not good at all. They were shit. And then Sony comes around and is like, this is the fucking easiest E3 of my life. Sony's like, I will take this entire day and just shit all over you people. Like, Sony made it look so fucking easy. But you have that card that you're holding in your back pocket for like, what, 15 years? Some ridiculous amount of time with the whole Final Fantasy VII Remake. I knew it was going to happen eventually. I wasn't particularly surprised that it was happening this year. I'm excited for it. As someone that didn't really play the original Final Fantasy VII until later, I don't see it through those rose-tinted glasses. I still think the game's fantastic, and I think the remake is going to be hopefully fantastic as well. But and trust me, when I saw the trailer, I was going nuts as well because that's a big thing in gaming that everyone talks about. But it's something that I'm looking more towards with an open eye, a less subjective eye, I should say. So that was great. That was the big news. Shenmue 3, I never played the first two Shenmues, but I know how much people wanted the game, so I think it's kind of cool. What else is there? Uncharted looked okay. What else? The Last Guardian, which is a game that I never really heard much about until recently. I'm very excited for that. I don't have a PS4, but I might look to get one because of Final Fantasy VII, even though Final Fantasy VII is most likely going to be released for the PC at some point in time, just because of how they're doing things now. And what else is there? I can't remember. There was Uncharted. There was Last Guardian. Did I say Last of Us? Last Guardian. Final Fantasy VII. There was something else that I'm missing from Sony. They showed off like a new Batman game, I think. The rare classic collection for Xbox is like, like there's just ROMs, man. So there's a lot to look forward to with Sony. I think. I'm sure I'm missing something here. Battlefront. Battlefront looked amazing. Very excited. That was one of the games I loved playing. Played it as soon as it came out back when, I was in high school. It was a fantastic game, the original one. That and the second one were absolutely amazing. The new trailer, it looked scripted, but it looked fantastic. There was, I'm sure, some gameplay in that trailer. And from what I saw, I mean, that's all we really want, with a Star Wars Battlefront game. Sure, it looks pretty similar to what we used to see with the original Battlefront, but I think it looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm very excited to see the new Battlefront and how that's going to play out. My friends are going to be playing a ton of it, and I'm sure I'll stream it as well when it comes through. So definitely, look forward to that because that's going to be amazing. No Man's Sky looked really good as well. I've been sort of following that semi-closely, and I think that's kind of interesting. I actually didn't see the new Mirror's Edge trailer. I don't know if there was a trailer for it. I'm not sure. I'm looking at the site now, and I never really got into the first one, but I always loved the idea of parkour and a game along with it. So, yeah, Battlefront's going to be great. Mirror's Edge I'm excited for. I liked from the Ubisoft conference, I did enjoy the Rainbow Six Siege gameplay. Whether that was scripted or not, I thought it was pretty interesting. I think Living Pink did a great job managing that, and of course stepping up to the stage, and she looked very comfortable up there, which is not something that's unheard of for a StarCraft 2 personality. So, guys in chat, let me know what your favorite conference was so far. I'm assuming everyone's gonna say Sony, but I don't know, Lord of Chicken. I think it was pretty good, man. So I need to get chat on the screen. Actually, let me do that real quick. There's a way to do that. I forget how. Anyways, so E3 was it has been somewhat okay. Not, fantastic, not amazing or anything, but besides Sony, obviously, which I don't really need to talk about, you know. What's up, Havocs and Esk and Cam's DK? Hey, guys. Let's go ahead and see if we can do this correctly. All right. Let's move on and talk about what I'm particularly excited for today. Of course, that is the Nintendo Direct. And I'm excited for multiple reasons. Number one, they're going to be showing off the new Star Fox Wii U gameplay, which I'm very excited for. Now, keep in mind, I don't have a Wii U yet, and I look forward to buying one in the future, but if they have a good E3, if they have a good Direct, I'm absolutely 100% going out and buying a Wii U. Not today, not tomorrow, but sometime in the near future, because I think it's going to be absolutely amazing. And this is one of the reasons why. So StarCraft Wii U I already talked about, obviously. The new Zelda's coming out, which I think everybody's very excited for as well. But the biggest thing that I'm waiting for, and that all signs are pointing to this, is a new Metroid game. And I know some of you know how much I love Metroid. I love Super Metroid in particular. But, and maybe even a new Fire Emblem as well. Like, there's all these big games coming from Nintendo on the Wii U that should be spectacular, and even having expansion Wii U is definitely a bonus. Maybe they're going to add some GameCube games to the Wii U shop. And if that's the case, maybe they make it so Melee is actually able to be played on an LCD TV or HD TV without any lag. So there's like a multi-pronged big thing that could happen here for Nintendo. If they do everything right, they could easily win this entire thing, even with Final Fantasy VII being released, even with Shenmue 3, even with all the stuff that Sony's doing. I think that Nintendo can absolutely crush this Direct. They already did the Nintendo World Championships, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. Shoutouts to Sinister One, who, of course, they did a Super Metroid run, or not really a run, but it was like the end of the game where you fight Mother Brain, and then you have to escape. And Sinister One crushed it. The controls were actually, he didn't really crush it. He had a rough time with controls, which is understandable because they had a Wii U pad. Sinister One, of course, if you guys don't know, if you were watching the Nintendo World Championships, Sinister One is the guy that commentated for that big four-way race for Super Metroid back at AGDQ 2014, which is the race that actually really got me into playing Super Metroid as a speed game. So you should definitely check that out, that run in particular. And then, of course, Sinister One, he ran, and he, of course, he was the one that made it through the Super Metroid part. So he did have a rough time, but that's understandable. The rest of the Nintendo World Championships were cool. I was kind of sad that I'm a kind of a Cosmo fanboy, so I was a little bit sad he didn't win because he's a speedrunner and he's somebody that got me into speedrunning. So it was unfortunate, but he seemed to have a really good time. That's good for him. So that's what I'm looking for from Nintendo for E3. It's going to be starting in about 40-ish minutes, and I'm excited to be covering. Well, I won't be covering that. I'm just going to be watching it. But so let's talk about Dota now. Let's head over to Dota and talk and discuss what's happening there. First things we'll start with, of course, DreamLeague champions. I only saw Game 5, but congratulations to Navi versus Virtus Pro. The last game, unfortunately, for Navi, Havost, who I've talked with before, who loves Gyrocopter, obviously, who loves going Rapier, could not get that Divine Rapier to do nearly enough damage at the end of the game. He didn't buy one, and he wasn't very close to buying one either. And if he had gotten a Divine Rapier, perhaps that game goes a little bit differently, and they win that fifth game. But G was too farmed. The Illidan Center was absolutely outstanding. So congratulations to Virtus Pro, who are looking very solid. Not many people would have guessed Virtus Pro versus Navi to be the grand finals of that tournament, although I would have guessed Virtus Pro would be in the grand finals. They looked outstanding. And they'll be playing up against EG for our next DotaPit series in the Winners Bracket Finals. Winner of that series will move on to the Grand Finals, and that is a big, big, big game. So that's going to be something that's absolutely fantastic to watch. Virtus Pro, if you guys remember last year, actually knocked out EG from the entire tournament of DotaPit, and guess what happened after that? That was the series that led to EG disbanding, or rather changing their team up. But of course, that was after TI4, so it's something to keep our eyes on. G, Illidan, F, and G, fantastic players. Lil is probably the most underrated player on that team, and DK Phobos, of course, is strong as well. So that entire team is a team I'm a huge fan of. So EG is going to have their work cut out for them, absolutely. And Virtus Pro could make it to the grand finals, and the problem will be, servers, and this has already been a discussion, is that online servers are really just, like, for online tournament, servers are the big issue. And there's no real way of making everybody feel like they won, honestly. Like, you can't really, it's so hard just to make sure that these teams are, like, on the same page. Because you have, okay, so if you play from US West to Lux, you're getting 200 plus ping easily. Like 210, 225 maybe, if you're lucky. If you play from Lux to US East, or if you're playing like from Sweden to US East, the least you're going to get is like 180 if you're lucky. And that's where S4 was for the majority of the series. So if you look at it from a purely, just like, okay, how can we get the teams to be on, like, what's the most even we can get these teams to play on in terms of ping issues? And it comes down to US East. Absolutely. For most of these teams, in fact, if they're playing against CG. So it sucks that Secret have to play on US East, but I understand why the admins did it. I don't really have an opinion one way or the other, but whatever the rules say, that's what they should be, and they will not be changed, hopefully, for the grand finals, whenever that may be, or for whatever. So that's something that, and Artesian, Peter, PBD in particular, was not a happy camper throughout that entire series. There was a lot of things that he wasn't too happy with, and that's fine. He had every right to be upset with the way the tournament was ran at that point in time, but it's just kind of how it goes. So, what are the rules for CIS teams? The server rules are, if you are a CIS team, then the games are on Lux, I believe. I don't know if all of the games will be on Lux, if it's like against EG, but at least some of them will be. If it's an EU team, like a EU West team versus a CIS team, then I believe they're either all on Lux, or it's like one of them are on Lux, then one of them's on the RU server. I'm not sure. I don't have the rules off the top of my head. I'll look for them, and I'll try to get them to you. But so that's that. So that was DotaPit. Congratulations to EG for moving on to the grand finals. That was a great series. EG drafted fantastically. Peter had some absolutely stellar drafts. They were really good. That last draft in Game 2 and Game 1 as well was a sight to behold. Well, let's just go over these drafts real quick. So EG's draft in Game 1, Lion, Leshrac, Clockwork, Bounty Hunter, and Sven against Coddle Tusk, TA, Undying, and PL. And they crushed the Game 1. They crushed it. It was a lot closer than it probably should have been, but they crushed it. 39-minute game. Samil had 700 GPM. His start was stellar. He crushed S4. And you could argue that that was due to server issues. But to be honest, it was Sumail just absolutely going in. My favorite NA team is NAR for sure. So Secret versus EG Game 2. Still an outdraft. Game was a bit closer. But Wyvern, Alina, Tusk, Naga support for AUI, Razor, I don't think it was last pick, but it was a good pick for Fear against the Chen, Bristleback, Storm, Io, and of course the Tiny. And Fear, I don't know if he won the game with his Razor play. I think the pick won the game for them though, because Zai couldn't get anything. It was the worst game I've seen Zai pretty much ever have. And that's saying something because it wasn't even that bad. I'm not trying to say, Zai played poorly. It wasn't his fault, as Trout said during the series. It was really just, it came down to the pick. And PPD just, this is the thing, man. He's like the next big drafter. I feel like he's the. I mean, before, so he was on Super Strong Dinosaurs, and this was something that I really, thought was amazing. Before he was a well-known player on EG or Sad Boys or whatever, he played for SSD, and he came to MLG Columbus a couple of years back, and I was able to chill with him and hang out with him, drink with him, and watch the games with him. And he was just telling me kind of like what he thought about the drafts, the games, and stuff like that. And his insight has always impressed me. So the fact that he's able to do this against Secret, even if it's an online tournament, always definitely impresses me. So I'm looking forward to seeing what EG can do. And Secret rebounding as well. They're going to be playing against NIP, and that should be a matchup that they're going to win. I think most people would say that, but we'll have to see how it goes, man. It will be on Lux, obviously, so they will not have any real issue there. New York City is very expensive, Destro. I don't live in New York City. I live in upstate New York, so I'll answer some more questions at the end of the vlog, guys. Just keep that in mind. 11:24. All right, well. All right. So, that was, of course, the DotaPit series. I was very excited for that. So, moving on, ESL is this week, I believe. I don't know when it starts exactly. I'm just going to look it up here on Wikipedia. If it would load. Rip, it's not loading. All right, there we go. So, is that June 18th? It is. So that's 2 days from now. On Thursday, ESL starting, and it goes through the weekend to the 21st on Sunday. And you have Secret, EG, Vici, Fnatic, Alliance, Virtus Pro, Cloud9, and IG. So 3 of the 4 teams, let's see, EG, Secret, Virtus Pro, Cloud9, 5 rather. 4 of the 5 teams, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 4 of the 5 teams from ESL will be playing in the playoffs of DotaPit. So this is going to be kind of the big, I mean, we'll see who gets to the grand finals. If it's EG and Secret again, then it's going to kind of, there's only so many times these teams can play before it gets kind of old. So I'm actually kind of hoping that it's like Virtus Pro versus, Cloud9 or something in the grand finals, and that Secret and EG don't play. Just because it would, and this is, it's a bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Selfish, I suppose. It's selfish that, these two teams, I want these two teams to not play against each other just because it would make for a better storyline later. I don't know. There's multiple ways that this tournament can end that would make it so that DotaPit is just as good, if not better, in terms of storylines. But I wouldn't mind seeing Secret and EG in the grand finals. But it's just kind of like you want to see other teams and how they do, like Vici and Fnatic and Alliance. Like all these teams, like any one of these teams could go to the grand finals and win, I'm pretty sure. Like absolutely any one of these teams. If you said, okay, it's going to be Fnatic versus like Vici in the grand finals, I don't think anybody would think twice. Like Fnatic, maybe Fnatic / Alliance might be the worst 2 teams in this tournament, and that's really that's not bad. Like these are 2 very strong teams. So I'm very excited for the teams at ESL. I, of course, won't be going. That's a little bit too far away from me, and the money would cost to get to ESL, and it would be too much to spend. So yeah, I'm not gonna be heading there. And so that's gonna be ESL. Very excited for that. I will predict grand finals of. I want to see Virtus Pro versus Cloud9 really badly. We don't know who's going to be on what side of the bracket, so just keep that in mind. Seeding bracket. Let's see here. Initial seed, Secret Alliance, EG, IG, Cloud9, Virtus Pro, Vici, Fnatic. Well, so much for that. I guess there is a losers bracket, so it doesn't really matter. But I would like to see Cloud9 versus Virtus Pro in the grand finals. That'll be something I want to see. All right. With that being said, let's take some questions from chat if you guys have any. I can talk about Game of Thrones, and I will in a bit probably, but for now I just want to take questions and see how everything's going. Will DotaPit actually finish before TI? There is going to be at least half of them, at least 20 to 25 days where teams will have time before TI to play their games. So yes, absolutely. If it doesn't, I've already mentioned this in a Reddit thread. I will flash my nips again in some way, shape, or form. Teams will definitely have time to finish DotaPit after ESL. Exactly. Yeah, that's what I was just talking about. Bone not going to play seeding matches at ESL. Okay, there are seeding matches. I didn't know that. So that's nice. Thoughts on FNG as the next biggest CIS drafter in a few years? Absolutely. FNG is a legend. FNG is he's been a player for like 2 or 3 years now. Like he's been so like I mean a player as in he's been like amazing. Yeah, I'm not the quickest guy. I'll be honest with you. Who's going to fill in for Bone? Your guess is as good as mine, honestly. I don't know. I really haven't heard anything about that. Actually, today was the first time I heard about that. Dota 2 Reborn. I'm very excited for that. That's gonna be amazing, and I really just can't wait till it comes out. It's not really going to affect Dota gameplay, but that's fine. Like custom matches, as soon as that shit comes out, you can be on top of it. Seeding bracket will be played on Thursday, and will determine the seeding for the main event. So, how does that work? Is it like a round robin? Like I was just reading it, but the initial seeding bracket will be based on teams joining Dota ranking 2 weeks before the seeding matches take place. After the completion of the seeding match, the top 3 seeds will selected their opponent from the team. That's not right, obviously. Wikipedia will be selected. Wait, the top 3 seeds will select their opponents from the teams seeded 5th through 8th. Seed 4 will face off against the unpicked team. The team seeded first will receive the first option to pick. The second team's second. Third team third. Got it. YouTube streaming platform is interesting. Someone mentioned this on Reddit, but I think the big part of Twitch is the interactivity with Twitch chat. And YouTube, as I've seen so far, just doesn't have, like, even if they do have a chat system, it's just not the same. It's just not, and it's probably not ever going to be the same. So YouTube as a whole has it's got a more lucrative platform in the sense that YouTube and YouTube gaming will be connected, obviously, and they already have like a big enough core and like viewer base. Like just because they have YouTube, essentially, they can get more viewers than Twitch can because of just straight up like having a bigger user base. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But it's hard to go against the grain of Twitch for esports because it's so just like it's so embedded in the esports culture. And Twitch does so much to keep esports alive. But I could see a lot of tournaments and people go into YouTube because of, maybe other tournaments are getting more, and certain tournaments think that, okay, well, we would be a big pull for YouTube. I mean, like, tier 2 tournaments maybe, or even, like, tier 1 Dota tournaments, who knows. So there's still a lot up in the air. I'm definitely still Twitch for I think the foreseeable future, and unless YouTube gives me some ridiculous offer, I don't see myself going over there anytime soon. Google Plus Kappa, yeah. I can imagine Artur being pissed about that. Let's see, someone will always be pissed, yeah. What do you think about Donald Trump going for president? I will not vote for him. That's all I'll say about that. I don't like talking about politics, though. Twitch has been stagnant for so long. Hopefully it shakes things up a bit. I think so. I think the worst thing was yesterday. That was the worst possible time for Twitch to go down. You had Game 5 of the Grand Finals of Virtus Pro versus Navi. You had like the last rounds of Fnatic versus Navi in CS:GO DreamHack, and then you had the biggest gaming the biggest gaming conference in E3 going ham. So I thought that wasn't particularly great. That was not a good time for Twitch, and I'm sure they are very upset about it. So I don't want to harp on it because I know they're probably the ones that are most frustrated by it. Everybody was having a good time. I saw a lot of the Twitch employees tweeting about the E3 and everything that was going on, and then all of a sudden Twitch goes down and everyone stops tweeting because I'm sure they're all working on the situation. They don't want to have to deal with it, and it was really unfortunate. But whatever happened. They have to kind of rebound from it. Thoughts on the new Star Wars Battlefront? I talked about it a little bit. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited. Do you think EG's going to win at ESL? I think they can. Will they? That remains to be seen. So yeah, I mean E3 has been good. I talked about it a little bit earlier. I wasn't a huge fan of Ubisoft, Microsoft, and even Bethesda, except for Fallout 4. And I'm forgetting the other one. If F7 English port first, since they have to redo all the dialogue and lip sync, anyways. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, who knows when it's coming out? Weakest team at ESL, Fnatic. I'd say just based on recent results, either Fnatic or Alliance. But I'd probably, I don't know. I have to give it to Fnatic probably. Yeah, EA was awful. You're absolutely right. EA was just terrible. So that's my thoughts on E3 and stuff like that. And let's talk a little bit about Game of Thrones real quick. And if you do not want to be spoiled, this is Game of Thrones. I'll even put it up on a title here. Talk about Game of Thrones real quick. Just real quick. So the last episode of season 5 came out. A couple things that I was expecting, a couple things that I wasn't expecting. Stannis getting absolutely, and again, spoilers, please leave. If you do not want to hear spoilers of Game of Thrones, please leave. Please leave. So the biggest thing in Game of Thrones that I wouldn't say the biggest thing, but the one thing that I wasn't expecting was Stannis getting crushed and absolutely just getting obliterated. At least his army getting obliterated, because we're not really at that point in the books yet, I suppose. But Stannis getting obliterated. He's probably still alive with Brienne, which, by the way, that was really dumb. The fact that they brought Brienne all the way back up there is just whatever. It's kind of silly in my opinion, but that's fine. So that was something that was really interesting. We'll see how that goes. Sansa leaving with Theon, that was not really surprising. That's something that I was kind of expecting to happen. And I wasn't too, I wasn't really upset about that. You want the good girl, but you need the bad pussy. It was just it was so funny, but it was so dumb at the same time. And that entire thing, I actually liked the relationship between Marcella and Jamie. Jamie is my favorite character in the books by far. The fact that he's still pretty cool in the show is good, but he's still kind of an asshole in a certain way. That entire storyline wasn't particularly good, but I thought that last scene was pretty nice. And then they ruin it by having Marcella getting like either killed or at least hurt, just for like it's so stupid. They didn't need to do that, and that really upsets me. Fucking, it actually pisses me off. It's just such a stupid fucking scene. Like, that was the only good part about them going to um Dorne, was, Jamie actually being like a cool guy and a cool father, and then of course like that can't even last that long because it's Game of Thrones. We have to keep this fucking idea of we have to kill all of our characters and make everybody, feel bad, and just sometimes they do shit for just like the heck of it. I feel like it was just so dumb. Tyrion and Meereen is pretty neat. I think that was really cool. I like the scene in episode 9 where him and Dany get together and they talk things out. I thought that was pretty cool. The fighting pits scene was kind of how I expected it to go. In fact, the entire Daenerys saga, with the exception of Tyrion, is kind of how it's going in the book. So I thought that was really neat and interesting. What else? I guess the biggest thing is Jon Snow, which I think a lot of people expected as well because of how they've kind of been, how they've had Ollie and everything like that. That one was kind of like everyone knew it was coming, but whether or not he's actually dead remains to be seen. So there's that. Robert Strong was really cool. Sir Robert Strong was exactly how I managed it. So they did a really good job with that, with Qyburn and Sir Robert Strong. In fact, the entire Atonement Walk was really cool. Yeah, Havix, you should try reading Book Daenerys. It's a lot worse than Show Daenerys, trust me. Book Daenerys is so hard to get through, in my opinion. It made me really not want to read the entire 5th book, but... So as far as the books and the show is concerned, we're pretty much even. I don't want to spoil too much for people that haven't read the books either, but we're pretty much right where we should be. So next season is going to be, you know, all bets are off. So it's going to be interesting to see how this next season goes, but we have a lot to do. So yeah. 4 is not a particularly good book in my opinion. There are some very good parts of it, but I'm excited to see how the next season will go. I mean, he could say he's done, G-Berg. Maybe he is. Who knows? That would be very surprising if they keep Jon Snow dead, in my opinion. We'll see how things turn out. With that being said, the Nintendo Direct is coming up in about 20 minutes. I'm very excited for that. I'm going to be checking that out for sure. And I have some other work to be doing. So this vlog is going to be done. I will highlight it if you didn't see the entire thing as soon as I'm done here. I don't think they will wrap them in 6 seasons, but we'll see. Anything else before I head out, guys? I'm trying to think. I'm glad you all came by. I might be streaming Dota later. I want to apologize. I said I was going to be streaming yesterday, and I didn't, so I'm not tired. Don't tell me to go to sleep. Come on. So, all right, guys. That is going to be it for me today. I'll tweet about the Nintendo Direct, so everyone, you know, if you're watching it, look out for me. I'm going to be going nuts if I see a Super Metroid, or not a Metroid, a new Metroid game. Might even make like a reaction video or something. So, thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.